everyone, it's Kristie here from KP Creatives with another video for two scrapbook friends. Today we are going to have some fun with Distress Oxide sprays. I apologize, my printer is not cooperating with me and not working. So I've got the list of supplies here. I will put this up again at the end of the video so that you can take a look at what we are using today. So let's get started. We're going to be using, as I mentioned, Distress Oxide sprays. If you haven't had a chance to try these out yet, they are a liquid version of Oxide ink. So they are that fusion of dye and pigment. You have to give them a really good shake when you're using them. So you want to make sure you've got your hand over the top because you could get some leakage. So you want to make sure you've got a nice tight seal there that your cap is on, and you shake, 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 shake. And you can hear there's a metal ball in there, and you want to make sure that there's nothing gathering at the bottom of your container. So we're going to go through a couple of different ways that these spray on your projects, and I hope if you haven't had a chance to try them out yet that it may inspire you to play around with Oxide sprays. So we're going to use picked raspberry, squeezed lemonade, salvaged patina, speckled egg, and wilted violet. So a little bit of a rainbow going on with our Distress Oxide sprays. For our stamps, I also have the coordinating dies, but I'm not going to use the dies today. We are using this set from Gina K, which is Crafty Notes. So if you have other crafty friends in your life, a really great set to have. Some super fun images, you know, ink pads, cards, markers, glue gun, paint palettes, paintbrush, and really cool things. So, and great sentiments as well that go really nicely with them. I am going for my first haircut in over a year tomorrow, which is very exciting. And I wanted to use this stamp set to be able to give a card to my hairstylist who has obviously gone through quite a time with COVID. So I wanted to make sure I was giving her something nice as I received great service from her. So I'm going to use the You Were Cut Out for Greatness and the scissors. I thought that would be a fun way to celebrate her. So we will use both of those as we get rolling with our project today. I'm also going to be using some new to me jewels from Pink Fresh. These are the Glacier jewels. Really cool iridescent look to them, and I think they'll look great with our project. We've also got the Pink Fresh Detail Black ink, some tape runner. I've got a card base already cut and scored. I'm really getting into the mini slimline size, a really fun size to work with. So you take a 6x6 piece of paper. This is the Nina Solar White Classic Crest 110 pound, scored right down the middle at 3 inches, and there you have your card base. So it's a really nice size to work with, and if you haven't tried it, lots of great materials that you can always use your A2 standard size stamps, dies, etc. for this, but there's also some really cool specific mini slimline or bigger slimline products that are available now. So check those out as well on the Two Scrapbook Friends website. And then we have our smusher tool from Maker Forte, which is going to make sure we get a great crisp impression when we use our Misty tool for our stamping. So let's get these dies out of the way because we're not using them today. We're going to start by getting our paper ready with the Oxide sprays. So the paper that I am using is the Tim Holtz Distress White Heavy Stock. This is paper that Tim Holtz has come out with in his line that is for use with, you can see right here, with the Distress ink Oxide sprays, really anything mixed media related. So if you are a mixed media fan, if you do a lot of that in your crafting, I would highly recommend getting that paper. It's smooth on both sides, which is really nice, and it is super heavyweight. So great that it will hold up to all of these mediums. So I have got some paper towel here. So this is nothing fancy in how we're going to do our background here with our Oxide sprays. I'm going to tilt the paper towel up a little bit. So I'm not sure if you can tell in the video, but I've got this held at a bit of an angle. And I'm going to put the sprays in rainbow order across the paper this way. We're going to cut down the piece that we want out of the paper. So I'm just going to go kind of crazy and spray whatever Tim Holtz says in his videos all the time, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. So that's the model we're going with today as we use these Distress Oxide sprays. So I'm just giving the picked raspberry a really good shake, and I'm going to shake the next couple as well, just so we don't have too long in between each of the sprays. So we've got our squeezed lemonade ready to go. Salvaged Patina, obviously one of the newest colors in the line, so I haven't used this one much, so it needs a really good shake. And Speckled Egg, which was the first color of the newest releases of the Distress Oxide line, or the Distress line, is a really great blue that we will add. And for purple, just give our Wilted Violet a shake. Okay, so we're all shook up here and we're ready to spray. If you spray your Distress Oxide really close and press slowly, I'm just going to do that on the paper towel so you can see what happens. It's going to give you like a bullseye, right? That's what's going to happen if you stay really close. If you go farther away, you're going to get more of a dispersed spray. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm about maybe a foot away from the paper right now, and I'm just going to spray, push down hard once, and you can see you get that disbursement of the picked raspberry. So we're going to go with that right now. I'm not going to squeeze another one on. We're going to go right into the squeezed lemonade. Same thing. I'm about a foot away. Press down once. There we go. Coming in with Salvaged Patina. Same drill. Press down once. Look at that vibrant color. Fantastic. Speckled Egg. And Wilted Violet. And I'm going to go in one more time at this end here with the picked raspberry. And the picked raspberry kind of got overshadowed on this side, so I'm going to go in one more time. Oh, my sprayer's just not... There we go. Okay, so I'm going to leave that just as is. It is a very abstract, haphazard spray. I'm going to grab a baby wipe to just wipe off my hand and wipe off my media mat for any of the spray that got around the paper towel. I normally use my Tim Holtz splat box, but in filming the video, it doesn't really work so well. So that's why I have gone to just using the paper towel, and it works perfectly fine. So if, it's a really great way just to, then all your mess is right on the paper towel. You don't have to worry about anything, and you can just mop it right up. So, that is a good solution if you don't have a box or anything else handy. So just giving the mat a good wipe. Lots of color coming up from that. Okay, so once you have finished spraying, you can set this aside. You have lots of options, right? You can set this aside to dry. You could hit it with your heat tool. You could put another piece of paper towel on top, or turn this over and push it into the bottom and then you'll get a little bit more of a muted effect. So I did a piece like that earlier. I'm going to show you what it looks like. So I sprayed those same exact colors, and I wanted it to dry quickly, so I actually put a paper towel on top. So you can see how much more muted that is when it dries. I'm going to flip this over to show you how heavyweight this cardstock is. I actually sprayed on both sides and it held up totally fine. So this was just, I held the bottles even farther away and I got just more mists and some different types of the spray. So, you never get the same thing twice with the spray, which is really fun. So, you can get like muted effects like this. You can get more vibrant depending on the colors you use, get more of a spray look. This is my favorite look that we did here today with the sprays. I absolutely love that. This piece I'm going to use to do some die cutting. So, you know, really cool to just play around. You know, if you're having one of those moments where, you know, your creative mojo isn't quite flowing and you just want to play around, grab some sprays, you know, get a few that are complementary colors, you know, go in rainbow order, something like that, whatever colors that you love, and just play around with them because they are really cool. So I sprayed, as I mentioned, I was playing around and I sprayed a few different examples earlier, and I cut this piece out of one of my examples. So I used the die set from Your Next Stamp or Your Next Die, which is the mini slimline rectangle die sets to fit on mini slimline cards. So I just ran that through my die cutting machine, and the really nice thing I like about spraying on a big piece like this is you can move the die around and cut exactly the piece that you want, right? So when you've got your metal die out, I'm just gonna actually look for mine and see if I can show you that in the video. So just give me 1 second here. So when you've got your metal die, you could say, oh, I want this section or here or here or here. So of course you could cut that way on your trimmer, but if you have these dies, you can see exactly what you're going to cut out. And you know, I learned that from Kathy Zilski. She uses these types of dies on a lot of her projects, and it's really a nice advantage to be able to pick exactly where you want to be able to cut out on the background that you have created. So, okay, so I'm gonna set this big piece aside. So again, you can see there's some similar effects here onto the one that I cut out earlier. A bit more of that muted effect. I did use a paper towel to dab some of this up. So that's why you see the difference in the spray as it goes down or up into this corner. So again, really fun to play. Have fun with the sprays. They are a really cool addition to your stash and a really neat medium to work with if you have not played around with them before. So let's get the Misty in action here. And I'm just going to get a new paper pad here for the Misty. Get this all set up. Stamp left over from previous project. Okay, so I'm going to get this set up in the Misty. I think we'll go this way because I want to make sure I can see things really well as we get this project going. I'm going to grab my Gina K tape runner because I find this tape runner I can peel up really easily. Just going to get a little bit of adhesive down and stick it right to the Misty paper so that it doesn't pop up. I do like the magnet, it's great, but sometimes the paper still pops up, especially if you're using stamps that you may not have used before. So if you have a problem with that, with your paper popping up out of your Misty, grab some of the tape runner that does allow you, that's forgiving, right? You don't want to use something like score tape to do this because, good heavens, you'll never get it off of there. Okay, so we're going to start with the sentiment. Again, this says you were cut out for greatness, and I want to get that fairly centered within our card panel. I'm just going to bring in my T-ruler to make sure we are getting it straight. Nothing worse than popping your sentiment down on, you know, your near final card project and it's not straight. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. Still looks a little off to me. Let me bring that T-ruler back in. Maybe the problem is I have the actual panel not straight. So let's get the panel lined up right on the grid lines so I know that's not an issue. There we go. Then we'll bring in the stamp, get the T-ruler set up. And that looks great. I'm gonna close the door of the Misty, pick that up, And let me just take a quick look here. That looks great. Okay, so now I'm gonna bring in the Pinkfresh Studio Detail Black ink. This is a great ink for sentiments, nice and juicy black ink. It's nice and crisp. Get that inked up nice and nicely. I close the door of the Misty, and I'm gonna bring in the smooshing tool from Maker Forte. Give that a nice press. Great even pressure with this tool. So you don't have to, you know, push here with your fingers and it gets uneven. Great even pressure. I love it. And that looks pretty good. You were cut out for greatness. I'm gonna hit it one more time. See if we can get that black to darken up just a little bit. Round two. And that's the great thing about the Misty. I know that my stamp position didn't change, my paper didn't change, so I can go right in again, and that looks great. Excellent impression. So that is awesome. I'm just going to get my stamp chamois a little bit wet. It had dried out a little bit from the last time I was using it. There we go. And just wipe this off. I'm gonna leave this stamp on even though we're not using it again, just because it's going to help me position the scissors as the next stamp in this project. It will just help me to, as a visual guide, I think, I don't know, we'll see as we go along. So I wanna have one pair of scissors on either side, and I think that will go nicely with this card. And yeah, well, let's see if this fits. Oh, it does. Perfect. Okay, so now I am going to take that off, because if I ink it up, I'm going to get it over the sentiment again, and even though it's in the same spot, I might not have it exactly where I want things. So let's get those scissors nice and inky. Bring in the smoosh tool, and those look great. Okay, I actually don't think we need a second impression on those, so clean off the stamp, and we're gonna move it to the other side of the sentiment. And just trying to see if they are even. That looks pretty good. Close the door, same drill. Ink up those scissors. Close the door of the Misty and give it a nice smush. And those ones do need one more hit with the ink, just a little bit faint in a couple of areas. Perfect. Okay, so now I'm gonna gently peel off this panel. So you can see with that Gina K tape runner, it peels off really easily. So some tape runners, it wouldn't, so you wanna make sure if you're doing this, you use one that is, you know, fairly forgiving. So there's our card panel. I'm just gonna set that off to the side while we get the Misty out of the way. And let's start to put this card together. So one thing to note, if you are using inks like the Pinkfresh Studio Detail Black ink, it's a hybrid ink. It takes a little bit longer to dry. So I can see that there's still some parts of the scissors that aren't totally dry. So I'm going to be fairly gentle with this as I'm working with it right now, because we don't want anything to smear on our project. So I'm going to bring in my Secret Weapon ruler to make sure we can get this panel nice and straight on our final card. So I'm coming in 1/4 inch from the left-hand side, and I know that the size of this panel is going to give me a really nice 1/4 inch margin all the way around this card. Is it 1/4 inch? Maybe it's a little bigger. You know, the mini slimline size is a new one for me. So let's just see here. I think it actually might be a little bigger. So let's come in a little bit more from that side. No, not quite. It's kind of just in between there. All right, so I can see that I've got it straight lined up on this side. Looks like we're pretty even on all sides if we went with that placement. Looks pretty good. Okay, so I'm gonna get the Scrapbook Adhesives tape runner. So this tape runner is not one that is very forgiving, so it's very good to use for your card panels. It's not going to lift up, and it will handle really well through the mail. So let's get our ruler set up again, nice and straight. And we can come in, I can see that on the top we're coming in the same space as we are at the bottom. And we're going to press that down. Oh, I think this is a really fun, you know, one layer card. We're going to jazz it up now with a few jewels from Pink Fresh Studio, just to make things a little more fun and to bling it up a little bit. So I'm using my jewel pick from Maker Forte. This is a great tool. It has the tacky end for using jewels and a pick end as well. And I'm going to bring in the Lawn Fawn liquid glue, which is one of my favorite adhesives for adhering jewels because it dries clear and you don't see any of the glue residue around the jewels. So it's a really great one to work with. So let's grab a few of these. I thought these Iridescent Jewels, it's called Glacier, the pack from Pink Fresh Studio. And I thought they would go great with this background. So I'm just grabbing kind of an assortment of sizes and we're gonna play around with them and see where the best placement is on this card. We'll get a little bit of a cascade hopefully going as we play around with things here. And so we've got 5. I think that's good. If you have watched or followed any of Kathy Zielski's videos, CZ Design, you'll see that it adds interest to your card if when you are adding embellishments like this, if you add them in odd numbers. It adds a really nice interest to the eye and it just creates a really nice visual around your card. So let's see how we want to organize these. I think this one is actually a little too big. I'm going to get that one out of the way and bring in one of the smaller ones. Yeah, I think that fits better here. So I'm going to try and get a little bit of a cascade from the bottom left to the top. Just something to draw the eye in that direction. Let's see here, just shuffle these a little. This one here is causing me a little bit of problem. Let's move it up and see what happens here. This is when you when you get to be a real part of the process, everybody. The shuffling around of sequins. Have you ever seen anything more thrilling? Oh dear. So I like that, but this one in the middle, I don't know, maybe 4 is the answer on this card. Maybe it doesn't need a 5th one. Or maybe we go minimalist and just have 3. I'm not so sold on these gems now. I really thought that they would be fantastic on this card. And, you know, now I'm not sure. I kind of wish I could talk to you guys live so we could have a little crafty chat about it. Okay, maybe that's okay. Maybe I'm overthinking this. That's, you know, very possible. I think one of the challenges here, I think what's happened is the mini slimline is actually, it's a little tight, right, as a canvas. So, you know, normally I would have more space to do that cascade that I was talking about, but I think I need to reframe my thinking a little bit and look at it across horizontal versus the diagonal that I was thinking about. And you know what, as I look at this, I actually quite like where things are. So I am going to stop fussing around here and get to crafting, because geez, if I spend this much time on sequin placement on each project, holy smokes, I wouldn't be getting anything done. Oh dear. Okay, well, thanks everyone for sticking with me through, you know, sequin placement on this card. That was maybe a bit painful for you, but I appreciate you sticking with me. So here's a little tip for you. If you find when you're using liquid glue to adhere sequins, jewels, anything like that, and the liquid glue just kind of is too liquidy and it sets right into your paper too quickly, let it set up for a few seconds, and then put your jewels on top. Just those few seconds make a big difference. They let the glue settle just a minute, and it makes it a lot easier. The glue's a lot tackier, and you might have an easier way of getting your jewels to stick to it. Sometimes if you dab the glue and go right away, it can be a little bit difficult. And the jewel or sequin can slide around. So if you just let it set up for a couple seconds, it makes a difference. So let's get this all put away. All right, so here is our finished card project for today, with the most brilliant sequin placement you've ever seen. And again, thanks for sticking with me through that. So again, try out this mini slimline size. It's really fun to work with. I find that it'd be great for little scene builders because you have that nice landscape piece to work with. I really thought this Gina K Designs Crafty Notes set was perfect to create this thank you card to recognize, you know, in this case, my hairstylist who again has gone through a lot through COVID. So I want to be able to recognize her and thank her for her patience through all of this time. So here is the list of products that we used in today's project. So we've got the Distress Oxide sprays, our dies, stamp set, and then we've got the usual tools that we use through most of our projects. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you learned something a little bit about the Distress Oxide sprays. Again, give them a try. They are a lot of fun to work with, and you can, you know, get messy and have some fun. So if you have a moment, please take some time to subscribe to the Two Scrapbook Friends YouTube channel. We would love to have you as a subscriber. Give this video a thumbs up, and if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Thanks so much for joining, and we will see you next time.